Hey book friends, it's Dustin from Modern Metaphysicae, and today I thought we could hang out and take a trip through Llewellyn's complete book of Ceremonial Magick, a comprehensive guide to the Western mystery tradition edited by Milo DuQuette and David Shoemaker. As always with all of my book reviews, if you're looking to pick up a copy of this book for yourself, you can find a link to that down in the description box below. Down there you'll also find links to my personal website where you can book a tarot reading with me, as well as all of my social media links where you can reach out and connect. So don't forget to check that out at the end of the video. Now, when I started doing my book series on this channel, I started receiving a lot of questions in terms of what would be a good place for someone to start in terms of learning about ceremonial magic and the Western occult and esoteric traditions that was, easily accessible and affordable and wasn't, highly convoluted because they had picked up, different grimoires or something like that, and it seemed like too much. And this is certainly, I think, a great place for people to start to learn about these topics, especially if they have a little bit of a fundamental grasp on the occult and the esoteric, if they're coming from another sort of background, be it tarot and divination or neo-paganism, for example. I think if you have that fundamental occult and esoteric vocabulary down, this is a great place to start diving into these topics that are covered within the book. But that being said, it's a really great book. I wish I had access to it when I started learning about the sort of Western esoteric traditions and ceremonial magic and things like Qabalah. Milo DuQuette is one of my favorite authors, and I'm very fortunate to have a signed hardcover edition of this book. And he really is one of the most prolific writers when it comes to some of these topics. My favorite books being specifically, The Chicken Qabalah and The Son of Chicken Qabalah. These are both really great beginner books in terms of learning specifically Qabalah. But if you want kind of a broad overview of ceremonial magic, I think this is definitely the place for you to start. The book itself is presented in a very lovely fashion. As you can see, the cover design is great. It does come with a dust jacket. Again, this is the hardcover edition. There are paperback editions of the book available, so if you'd rather that, those do exist. And it is a perfect bound book, meaning that it's basically, a soft cover book bound into a hardcover setting, basically. But it's really, really well done. I love the end paper designs. Hardcover books with boring end papers make me sad, guys. And the cover design on the inside under the dust jacket is really nice. It's just paper bound with this really lovely gold embossing on the front and the spine. There's nothing on the back. So in terms of the presentation and the construction of the book, it's really well done. Now, in terms of what you get inside the book for content, and this is where this book really sings, right? Is you get a whole collection of basically essays on all of the different sort of topics in the Western occult and esoteric traditions. So you get discussions on the foundations of Western magic. This talks about the history, the foundations of different religions, things like Hermeticism and the like. It also gives you a whole section on Qabalah, Planetary Magic, Alchemy, Demonology, and Spirit Evocation by Dr. Stephen Skinner, who's probably one of the most prolific authors in terms of, Western occult and esoteric grimoire traditions. You have a whole book on Enochian magic and mysticism with, a big look at John Dee and Edward Kelly, which is fantastic. There's a whole discussion on the Golden Dawn, Thelema and Aleister Crowley, Polytheistic ceremonial magic. There's a whole magician's tables and correspondences section, which is great. It's kind of like an abridged version of the complete magician's tables by Stephen Skinner that I recently reviewed on this channel. If you're interested in checking this out, I'll throw it up here in the cards. And you also get a nice little sort of epilogue that talks about how ceremonial magic is growing and the community is shifting, and how, you know, the internet and the modern age is shaping a new generation of Western occultists, and how the, you know, the ease and accessibility of all of these mystery traditions has really sort of exploded, and how that's, you know, going to continue to evolve. It's a great little blurb on the future, really, of these traditions. It's full, as you can see, of different figures. There's lots of pictures in here, which is great, and tables of correspondences, etc. So it's a really comprehensive book, and it was lovingly and carefully sort of edited and put together by Milo DuQuette and David Shoemaker, which is, you know, they're two amazing authors in and of themselves. So yeah, I mean, I think if you are interested in the Western mystery traditions and things like Enochian magic or ceremonial magic, you know, Thelema, Aleister Crowley, if you have zero sort of fundamental understanding on Qabalah or any of these topics that are presented in this book, I think this is a great place to start, because the articles within here are very well written, they're very approachable, and they also are just impeccably annotated and footnoted, which means that if you see a topic of interest, you can look at the footnotes and the annotations and the bibliography and find the books that the authors are referencing and just dive even deeper into each of the subjects. So it's a great way to kind of, you know, go through the buffet line of Western occult and ceremonial traditions and see what is of interest to you, right? Which I think is great. So if you're looking for something like that, definitely check out this book, because it's really, really wonderfully done. And as you can see, each section has its own bibliography, and they're pretty epic. And there's a lot in these. And I found some really interesting books by reading, you know, this book and looking through these bibliographic sections of the chapters. So it's a really amazing book. Lots and lots of great information. Very approachable, I think, for most people. You know, it's definitely written for the beginner and as a broad overview, not something that goes hugely into depth, but I am amazed at the amount of depth that they have managed to squeeze into these brief chapters. So they've done a really excellent job at that. So yeah, I would highly recommend this book, obviously, if you are interested in at all in any of these topics. And I also think that there is something to offer here for someone who is a experienced Western occultist or magician, because there are some sort of new perspectives or you know, updated research mentioned in here. So, you know, if you're definitely someone who has spent a lot of time, you know, researching and reading all of the topics in this book, you know, this might be a good way to just kind of quickly digest some of the more recent publications or research that has come about by a lot of these academic researchers and writers, which I think is also very useful. So yeah, it's a really wonderful book. Again, I think if you're interested in these topics, it's a great place to start. Let me know in the comments section below if you have an interest in any of the topics in this book, or if you have this book and how you found it useful and what your thoughts are on it. I would love to hear from each and every one of you. But I would definitely recommend this book. I found it a pleasure to read, and I found some really great insights into these topics. So yeah. As always, I want to say thank you so much to everyone who has come to hang out and check out this book. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't done so already, so you don't miss any future occult or esoteric content. And also, please remember that everyone is fighting a battle that you know nothing about, so be kind always. Bye, everybody.